Okay, everyone, welcome back. There has been a lot that's been going on that I'd like to update you guys on. To start off, many of you have been asking me if the County of Henrico is still censoring me on Facebook. And the answer is yes and no. The verdict is not out yet. Some days they are censoring me and hide in the comments. Some days they are not. So it kind of remains to be seen as to how they are going to respond to my legal notice. So I'll update you guys on all of that in another video and share with you some of the back and forth conversations, the excuse that Henrico County gave as to why they are violating the U.S. Constitution and the Virginia Constitution and engaging in viewpoint discrimination. Okay. On a different note, I've also been going to the Library of Virginia and accruing information in the archive section. That has been very interesting, and I can't wait to update you guys on some of that information a little bit later. It's very eye opening, the conversations that was being had surrounding water fluoridation when all of this kind of began in Richmond. I've also been speaking with some of the legislators recently and those that sit on the board of the Virginia Health Department to see if they still are recommending water fluoridation. Not a single board member that I could get a hold of said that they currently recommend community water fluoridation. There is not a single document that I have found or that HHS has been able to give to me that says that HHS recommends water fluoridation. And when it comes to the Public Health Service, which this can be confusing for many people, but the Public Health Service is not just one organization. So the Public Health Organization is between 8 and 10 organizations. So it's a bunch of organizations together. So you have the FDA, you have NIH, you have CDC. There's a whole laundry list. I'd have to show you on the Federal Register what those organizations are because many of them I don't even think about. But I called every organization and asked, do you still recommend community water fluoridation? And not a single organization within the Public Health Service said that they currently recommend water fluoridation. I confronted those in the CDC and said, well, your website still says that, water fluoridation is a good thing. Well, do you guys still feel that way? And not a single one of them wanted to say that they recommend this. Of course, a recommendation is not something that one must follow. You should never follow bad recommendations. And we know that the city of Richmond and Henrico County, they have admitted that they've never researched whether or not this is something that violates informed consent or something that is harmful to the brain and body. They just say they don't know what they're doing, in other words, to put it simply, and that they yield to VDH. Nobody in VDH recommends this that I could find. And then some of them say, well, we yield to HHS. HHS doesn't recommend it. The Public Health Service recommends it. So, I mean, what are we doing here, folks? So, anyway, those conversations are mind numbing, to say the least bit. Yeah, it's very, very painful talking to these individuals. I'm sure they feel the same way with me, honestly, as well. What else do I want to update you guys on? So I want to share with you some stories that I have regarding this topic. So, what do I mean? Some of the private conversations I've had with the local and state governments have been extremely disturbing to me and just downright evil. So, I'm going to explain two separate situations that are kind of similar. And it's just I've really been thinking about it a lot. And I've thought about it a lot over the last year when people have brought this up. Okay, what do I mean? Well, Eastern Henrico has their own waterworks, okay? Forgive me, Western Henrico has their own waterworks. Eastern Henrico, near the city of Richmond, they get their water from Richmond. Okay, so that's important to know. The people over in Eastern Henrico, they were affected by the fluoride overflow, where more than a month's worth of fluoride went into the drinking water in approximately 5 hours and 15 minutes. So they should be very concerned as to what's going on over there. Okay, but when I've had conversations with folks in Henrico County government and said we should stop adding fluoride to the drinking water because this is harmful. It's harmful to ingest. Many admit that they know that this is harmful to ingest. But their position is that, but if they stop adding the fluoride to the water in Western Henrico, then it's not fair to the folks in Eastern Henrico. And it's also not fair to those who live on the border, because if you live on the border, then you have the other counties, their water supply cross-contaminating with Henrico's water supply. And so essentially, okay, if Western Henrico stops adding fluoride, sure, folks, close in the circle, they're not going to be exposed. But as you branch out, the residents that are on the outskirts, they're going to be exposed to fluoride from cross-contamination from, Richmond City and from Chesterfield and so forth. So essentially, they say that everyone needs to be harmed at the same rate. It needs to be equal, is their position. So they say, well, Eastern Henrico, they get water from City of Richmond that has fluoride in it. And if folks in Eastern Henrico are being harmed, then we need to harm those in Western Henrico at the same rate. It needs to be even Steven. Okay, I kid you not. I have had this conversation with people, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. They tell me they have to everyone needs to be harmed at the same rate, okay? This is like saying that a certain area of Henrico, the children are starving, and so we should go ahead and starve everyone in the county because it's not fair if some children are being starved and other children are not being starved. I kid you not. This is what they say. And I repeat it back to them. And when I repeat it back to them, their mouths just drop. It's like they don't realize how utterly evil it sounds when it comes out of their mouth. But when I repeat it back to them, then they realize like they're monsters, right? That's what they realize. They realize they're saying that they need to go out of their way, purchase artificial fluoride, put it in the drinking water, so everybody is harmed. So all of the children, all of the residents, all of the pregnant women are harmed. They say it's not fair if Western Henrico is not harmed, but folks on the outskirt are harmed, and Eastern Henrico is harmed. And my response is that it tears me up on the inside. I just cannot even think straight. My response has been to these folks, listen, let's be a beacon of light, okay? So let's lead by example. If Henrico stops deliberately putting fluoride in the drinking water and harming, our folks, then that gives us grounds to put pressure on everybody else to say, you don't have a right to contaminate our drinking water. It also helps put pressure on the city of Richmond. They don't want the fluoride in the drinking water. Anyone who knows what's going on, the waterworks operators, they don't want the fluoride in the drinking water. I have spoken to probably close to 40 waterworks operators across Virginia, and not a single one of them wants this in the drinking water. They understand how harmful it is, okay? The folks that seem to say, well, we recommend it, are folks such as the Henrico Board of Supervisors. And when I ask why, they say, well, we don't know why. We just, defer to VDH. And when I say, VDH, why do you still recommend this? Given that the evidence of harm, given that it takes away informed consent, they say, well, we don't know. We just do what the Public Health Service says. And when I contact those in the Public Health Service, I haven't found anyone in the Public Health Service who recommends it. Nobody will be on record saying that they recommend this. HHS doesn't recommend it. So what are we doing here, folks? Okay. It's disturbing that Henrico says, well, we're actively putting this into the drinking water because we think that VDH recommends it. And they assume that VDH knows what they're doing. And VDH says, we don't know what's going on. I've spoken to many of the folks on the board. They said, we don't know anything about this. They say the responsibility is on Henrico County to know if it's safe or not. Henrico County says, well, it's VDH who's responsible. VDH doesn't know what's going on. They recommend it. Henrico County, they're the ones actively putting it into the drinking water, so they should know what's going on, and they don't. They absolutely don't, okay? They've repeatedly told me over the last year they have no idea what's going on, okay, those who sit on the board. So, and they, you'll see, they'll dodge and weave and not answer whether or not they're for this and say, well, VDH is the regulatory agency and mealy mouth nonsense. But okay, so the bottom line is the theme that keeps coming up is that if residents in one area are being abused, then we have to make sure to abuse the residents in the other area. So then it's even Steven and everybody's being abused by the same rate. Okay? This is literally what's being said to me. I kid you not. Okay. So that's the theme. And another theme, I've spoken with people, I'm not going to name names, in Virginia Department of Health, and they say, well, there's naturally occurring fluoride in the drinking water. Folks, some folks in Virginia have wells, and those who have wells, some of them are being exposed to naturally occurring fluoride. And the people who work at VDH say, well, it's not fair that they're being exposed to naturally occurring fluoride that's harming them. And they said that if my county stops going out of their way and buying artificial fluoride and puts it in the drinking water, they say it's not fair that I'm not being exposed to it. Right? So if they stop adding it in my drinking water, I'm not being exposed to fluoride. And the response is, but some, residents somewhere in Virginia, they have a well and they're being exposed to naturally occurring fluoride. And if they're exposed to naturally occurring fluoride, then we need to make sure that your county goes out of their way and purchases hydrofluorosilicic acid that has a pH of 1.2, that's a known neurotoxin that harms the brain, that harms the thyroid, that harms the bones. You need to be exposed to it too, because it needs to be even Steven. This is their answer. My response was, so essentially you want everyone to be harmed equally. Yeah, that's the answer. And I said, now, of course, I have to say this, in a very professional way, the best that I can conduct myself without, wanting to scream at these people. But my response has been, and this has come up more than once, and it came up recently, that just because somebody is being exposed to lead, there's lead in the water over here, you don't tell my government they need to go out of their way to deliberately contaminate my water with lead, okay? Let's say there's naturally occurring arsenic, and the people who have wells are, having to deal with arsenic in their water for whatever reason. You don't say, well, because they're struggling with, removing arsenic from their water and they can't get it out of their water at the rate that they would prefer, that my county should go out and purchase artificial arsenic and put it in the drinking water because everyone needs to be harmed at the same rate. This is what they're saying, okay? This is our government. So if you guys believe that our government is actually doing good work and actually knows what they're doing, think again, because they don't, okay? It is egregious. And I gotta tell you, I don't feel like I have the best temperament to deal with this ridiculousness. Day in and day out, the theme is everybody needs to be harmed. It needs to be even Steven, right? That's what's taking place here. That's what we're up against, okay? These people, their minds are very sick, okay? Our local government and our state government, the people that are running the show, they have a very sick mind when they say, well, your county should go buy artificial fluoride and harm their population because somebody over here is being harmed by it. And we need to make sure everybody's being harmed at the same rate. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in America, folks. Welcome to America. So anyhow, I just thought I would update you guys on this. I come across this more often than I would like, and these people, they need to understand what they're saying. So if anyone tells you, well, Henrico needs to put fluoride in their drinking water because it's not fair if they're, we got to make sure everybody's harmed at the same rate. I kid you not. They know it's harmful, but they just don't think it's fair that, if they're being harmed over here, you need to be harmed over there. What? All right, that's all I have for you guys with this video. I've got a lot more to update you guys with, but yeah, stay tuned. There's a lot more. If you guys know how to overcome this ridiculous way of thinking, please leave a comment below, because I just don't even know how to break through the mind of somebody who wants to go out of their way and harm the public. People who want to go out of their way to harm the public are put in prison. That's what we do with people, because they just, if you can't do this. But you know, if you call it a public health measure, then you get away with it. So, anyway, that is going to be it for today. I hope that you guys send emails to your city council, to your board of supervisors. Send an email to those on the board of Virginia Department of Health and tell them to stop. Okay. Contact your legislators and tell them that you want a bill to make it illegal for anyone to put drugs in our drinking water. And this is a drug, according to the FDA. This absolutely is a drug. They love calling it a chemical or a compound or an additive because they don't like the word drug, because they don't want you to know what's going on. This is not a nutrient. Hydrofluorosilicic acid is not a nutrient. Sodium fluoride is not a nutrient. Fluoride is not a nutrient. Okay, this is not a nutrient, not by any stretch of the imagination. So anyway, do something about it. If you don't like it, if you don't want to consume drugs against your will, then speak up and say something. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm for informed consent. So anyway, the sun is coming in here and blinded me, so I think I will get outside. Go ahead and make sure to leave a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, leave a comment below, and share this video with others, okay? The only way things are going to change is if we make it change. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time. Bye.